Welcome in, everybody. It's time for a United Bank Playbook. Tony Caridi along with West Virginia University Athletic Director Shane Lyons. There are a lot of things going on within the world of Mountaineer athletics. We thought it would be a great time to bring everyone up to speed. So first off, Shane, let's jump into football. Obviously, the unfortunate situation in having to close the program down temporarily because of COVID-19. You got close, didn't you? You got 9 in, almost 10, and I was thinking about it recently. You would have had the 10 in had the Oklahoma initial postponement not happened.
Right. Well, that's what we looked at, Tony. And again, it's I think there's only 7 teams, if I'm not mistaken, that completed all the games that were scheduled. And I was hoping to be one of those 7 or 8 teams that had it all. And you just said, when the postponement occurred, it caused concern for me to say, 2 weeks in a row not playing, what does that look like? And then unfortunately we had a couple young men that tested positive, and every day it was another 2, another 3, and it got to the point where we felt like, hey, we need to shut this down to stop the spread, preserve the ability to play in a bowl game, and shut it down for a week. So ultimately that was the decision that we made, and I think it was the right decision. And we're hopeful that the young men will come back on today or tomorrow and be healthy and continue to prepare for a bowl game.
So it's a combination when this happens that it's not only your positive test, but it's also the contact tracing, correct? That's what really swells the number?
It does. And you look at it and we sit there and say, well, you only had 6 or 7 student athletes that tested positive. When you start doing the contact tracing, we got up to 35 to 40 young men that were out because of contact tracing. So, they look at everything from where they were. We had one young man that unfortunately tested negative on Friday when we were at Iowa State. Saturday he supposedly had the virus, thought it was just a cold or bad food, tested him on Sunday, he was positive. So then you had to go back and look who was on the bus with him. Well, and all this is all the logistics behind the scene, but we have bus charts. Everybody had assigned seats so that you could go back and say, here's the people around. So one person knocked out 8 or 9 different guys. Then you had another on Monday, 2 guys that got tested. They knocked out 4 or 5 guys each. So now you're at 20. And then all of a sudden Tuesday you have a couple more positives, and now you're at 34, 35, and so it just kept on accumulating, and it depletes your roster. And then all of a sudden it was like we had to make a call, I believe it was last Wednesday, to say, what's it going to look like the next couple of days in testing and contact tracing. So that's why we made the decision to postpone.
Which leads us to the next question. What's it going to look like now when they return? They're scheduled to return after being gone for a week. Now, the thing you've got going for you here, right, is that 7 days have gone by and there's been no contact with other players, right? So how will this all happen now?
Well, we'll come back and we'll start the testing protocols again. The good thing about it is if, the contact tracing is really not going to be an issue unless it's a roommate. And so, we will start testing again. And if they are positives, then it's only going to really impact those positives, which, based on our numbers, we've done over now close to 16,000 tests in the fall on our student athletes. Our positive rate is less than 1%. Unfortunately, last week was the highest that we had in football since July. And so that's the postponement requirement. But coming back now that we don't have the contact tracing, if you have 1 or 2 positive, it's not going to knock out another dozen and a half, kids. So that's what we're hoping for. And, and those young men would be out for 10 days, if they are positive, and still have the ability to potentially come back and be ready for a bowl game.
Okay, so let's go into the bowl game. So Sunday is going to be D-Day as far as where you go. How much conversation is going on right now? What are your thoughts as far as where for West Virginia?
Yeah, if you really look at it and you break it down, again, scenarios can change, every day. But if you look at, we're in the college football playoff that came out on Tuesday, their rankings, we have 2 teams inside the top 10. History has shown that if you get beat in the championship game, you don't fall but 1 or 2 spots in there. So Oklahoma is ranked 10th. If they would happen to get beat, then they're only going to fall to probably 11 or 12 at the max. And then so you're hopeful that you have 2 teams that play in the New Year's Six. So with all that being said, most likely I'm looking at in conversations with the conference, it looks like it could be Houston or it could be Memphis, one of those two, based on that scenario. If we only get one in the college football playoff, you're probably looking at Memphis and then possibly Phoenix. Phoenix is on the 26th, and then Memphis game, the Liberty Bowl, is on the 31st.
But regardless of what happens, once the Mountaineers return this week, they're staying put, whether it's 26-31.
Yeah, we made that clear, to the young men when they came, left campus and coming back, that, most likely, depending on our bowl slots within the Big 12, that you're playing on the 26th or you're playing on the 31st. So, that was the opportunity for them to go home a week. And then again, it's 3 or 4 day difference there, by the time you leave for the game. So they're under the understanding that, one of those 2 dates, if it's the 31st, they'll still stay here. It's a longer period of time, but still stay here.
What's your takeaway? A national letter of intent signing period on Wednesday began. What's your takeaway of this class?
I'm excited about this class. Again, it continues to improve. Again, if you go on the star ratings, we had, a top 21 class, based on the star ratings with the 16 individuals that we're signing. And hopefully, come February, that continues to increase as well, which is one of the best recruiting classes, from a star rating that West Virginia's had in Mountaineer history for our football program. So, I'm excited about this class and, what they have to offer. So it's, our coaching staff really has worked hard to build the culture in that program, bring the right type of young man to Morgantown based upon, obviously athleticism, academically, and character. And that's the three things that Coach Brown talks about. And I think he's been successful in doing all three and looking at these prospects.
Let's jump over now to Mountaineer basketball. Things have started well for both the men's and the women's teams. And on the men's side, the Huggs' squad has reached up to number 8. So things are getting interesting here.
It's getting really interesting. Again, it's this is an exciting time of year where you're wrapping up football, you're starting up basketball, and Coach Huggins has done a great job of continuing to work through some of the issues, and his staff working through some of the issues with scheduling. No one said it was going to be easy this year, and it's not. Give Josh Eilert a lot of credit for picking up a couple games, in Gonzaga and North Texas here last week. But as we enter the conference schedule, it's going to be important that we continue to play with the high intensity. The way we played last Sunday against Richmond, it'll be a great season. I mean, they shot the ball really well, rebounded well, defensively, went well. You're going to have some slumps here and there, but we got to play with high intensity. Same thing with Mike Carey's team. They played really well, played a very good Tennessee team, beat them. But once you get in the conference schedule, it's not going to be easy, and we're just going to have to continue to, head forward with both programs and see where we end up.
Give us the chain of command here in regard to fans. I know you first and foremost, you want people in the seats, and it just isn't available to happen right now. How is that going to work going forward? Who's involved?
Well, there's a number of people involved. I mean, obviously the athletic department's involved. The local health officials are involved. The university officials are involved. WVU Medicine's involved from all this. And Tony, I more than anything, I want fans at the Coliseum. There's a lot of great things that we've done to the Coliseum, from the video boards to the seats, et cetera, and no one wants them there more than I do. At the same time, we're in the middle of the pandemic, and I got to go with the professionals that are telling me, if you get 2,000 or 3,000 people in that facility, the ventilation in an indoor facility is obviously not great, and what that could mean to people coming and catching and spreading the virus. And I have to go with them in saying this is the right thing to do. So we will continue to work to try to get fans in there in January, February, but at the same time, I have to do what's right and what's right for the fans. I want to focus on, we're still playing basketball. So I know people want to be in the Coliseum, but let's focus on the positive, that we're still playing and that we're playing in a safe environment. And unfortunately, if people can't come to the Coliseum, they can still watch Mountaineer basketball on TV. So that's what I want to happen. And if you told me back, in the fall months that we would be playing basketball without fans, I would say, okay, I'll make that deal just as long as we're playing. Because if you're not playing, that's worse off.
And one thing you failed to say, you can also listen to the games on the radio.
I did forget to listen. I knew they were listening. They were watching but listening to you.
Turn down that bad TV sound, turn on that radio. Shane, appreciate the time.
Thank you, Tony. Let's go Mountaineers.
All right, that has been our United Bank Playbook. Thanks for being with us.